The White House, the intelligence people, knew that Russian hackers had hacked the DNC emails. We heard about that. Hillary Clinton had discussed her plan to say that the Russians were supporting Trump. So they saw that it was already one of her schemes. Though everybody was aware that she was about to float some BS. Remember Hillary Clinton like collapsing and stuff? It was one of those big things they tried to cover up. Like, oh, she was tired. It's like she ceased being alive. And y'all Weekend at Bernie's her. Like
Biden, the SUV,
yeah, Biden looked stronger.
Right.
So the Obama administration and the intelligence agency, nonpartisan intelligence, they purposely ignored information and purposely cherry-picked information they knew was wrong in order to put together a report that fit with the narrative that Russia was trying to help. Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the third most popular candidate to ever be. I am Frank, and along with me as always...
What's up, planet Earth? I'm Bean.
We might have been on vacation, but we've been working hard for you. We've been keeping our nose to the grindstone, our ear to the ground, listening for the tracks, hearing everything coming down the pipes.
Talk about these pipes.
Oh, which way to the gun show? All right. So this is going to be mainly focused on two topics. One's kind of a cleanup because it's just the story that will never end. And that, of course, is Jeffrey Epstein and his files. Tucker Carlson has had both Sagar from Breaking Points and, oh, shoot, I just blanked on his name. Daryl... They got Martyr Made podcast. Daryl, I don't know. He's the one that got some grief because when he was explaining like the history of pre-World War II Germany, people were calling him a Nazi apologist because he didn't say like, well, they were bloodthirsty monsters and they decided to be bloodthirsty because he kind of painted a picture. Not everybody agrees 100%, but he was just like, well, he's like, most people think they're the good guy, right? In their own story. So, yeah, Hitler was not a big fan of the Jews, obviously. But he was just saying, like, that he doesn't think most of the country was sold on kill the Jewish people because they're Jewish. It was more of an anti-banker, like this international kind of pressure from international banks and just non-Germans and even German bankers will put these, like, horrible pressures on us, but then they go live elsewhere. They're international citizens, they're not even real Germans. So it was more of this kind of class warfare thing. But a lot of them had the same religion there, and so I think he was saying that kind of was the kicking off point. Anyway, so this guy he tries to be empathetic on both like the good guys and the bad guys in different situations. He has a history of like Israel and Gaza and all that. Anyway, Tucker had these two guys on separate to both talk about kind of the history of Epstein, right? And I did learn a lot. It did kind of change my perspective a little bit. For example, great guy. Epstein was a great guy, not guilty. All right, see you later, guys. No, so one of the big things is they both kind of touch a little bit more on, how his money came to be. Like, no one's really clear, but like he just sort of got, because he went from being a 20-year-old teacher at a prestigious school, even though he was a college dropout. The guy that hired him was Bill Barr's dad, and then he gets let go there, probably because he was macking on somebody's daughter. He used to go to the high school parties and drink and hang out. So, he wasn't welcome back, but through the school, he got introduced to Bear Stearns, which is huge. And so when he got let go, he called them, they gave him a job. And his even though he had no degree, let alone certification, he worked in sort of the tax shelter side of things and eventually was let go for not following company regulations and all that. So they didn't press charges. They let him go after an internal investigation, which sounds a lot like he was laundering money and like doing things in a kind of less than proper way, which is why, like, shortly after that, when he left, he met some good people, like the Khashoggi guy, the journalist that got killed. So I guess his uncle or whatever met that guy. He was a arms dealer back in the Reagan days and everything. U.S. worked with him. I guess he was on the news and stuff. Like, he was a well-known, flashy Arab, not prince, but, millionaire, billionaire type. And so that kind of got into things. So anyway, all this stuff they were talking about, which go listen to them. They're both multiple hours long and I think worth it. But it sounds like, his bread and butter was money laundering and hiding assets and all that kind of stuff. Now, why the founder of Victoria's Secret was like, here, have the largest residence in Manhattan on the house. And also, full power of attorney. Full power of attorney. Now, why that happens, I don't know. But it does seem, I heard Tim Dillon say that apparently the guy that took Epstein's job after Epstein didn't have the job with old Victoria's Secret fella also got in a little trouble for liking kids a little too much. And so, and when you have multiple brands that are all about making teenagers look great, so there just might be something up with this fella. And maybe Epstein's living at his house in Ohio. Who knows? But anyway, so it seems like he got introduced to these pieces. So if you look at Khashoggi, who runs arms for the U.S. and Israel and anybody that pays, and then he needs his money organized. And so he's working with this guy, at some point he's working with Maxwell. But it's, I think through this, he gets introduced to other circles of people and in intelligence, whether domestic or international, And like Israel came out, the head of Mossad, and said, Jeffrey Epstein never worked for Mossad. But specifically, not worked with, not, we never hired him for a job, just he was not on payroll for Mossad. So it's like, cool, way to say nothing, Right.
That's how the CIA does it. Cool.
Yeah. And so, like, odds are he got introduced that way. So I think that, I do think he had a blackmail operation. I think that came later. I think that was sort of a sprinkle on top. I think his main biz was running and hiding money. There was some guy he helped testify against after he hid like $100 million or something, or over $100 million offshore for the guy. He then testified against him for money laundering and stuff. So that guy went to prison, and then there was just this unaccounted for like $100 million floating out there. So he's a hustler. So in this Epstein saga, odds are, he had his own little thing. Might have just been security, make sure no one rats on you. It's like, hey, rat on me, I got this on you. Whatever it was, I'm sure they had it. So, of course, the administration came out and they go, got nothing. So everyone kind of freaked out, and Trump, chastised that reporter and was like, are we even talking about this loser? Like, what are we talking about this guy? And everyone's like, what do you mean, why? Like, you ran on this. And then later he tried real hard to pitch it. I think he still drops it from time to time, that this was all a Democrat operation, like the Russiagate hoax. It's like, it's a Democrat made up, blah, 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 blah. And you go, the Epstein list? The thing you ran on? Like, that we haven't been told everything that has to do with this very mysterious arrest and the sweetheart deal from 2008, which was very mysterious. I heard more details about that. Not only, so, he got caught. He didn't. So I thought he got caught picking up a teenage hooker, right? Because that's what his charge was. What he got caught was he was smuggling from Ohio, because of his tie to Victoria's Secret and Abercrombie or whatever the other brand was. Maxwell would help pick up young girls. Like, hey, you want to get interested in modeling? Like, what about, ever heard of these clothing brands? Oh my God, and run them down to Florida, and then, massages and the normal stuff. And so, like, they had witness testimonies out the wazoo. They had everything they needed to put them away, and so they got, they promised these girls, like, don't worry, this guy's going to, for what he's done, that's life. That's life. And so his lawyer starts negotiating a plea, right? And so while he's waiting for the lawyer to negotiate a plea, what do you think? Where do you think he put his money and his body? Pick a nation.
Israel?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So he went over to Israel to hang out. Rumor was, I guess they could never truly confirm it, but all of his money went offshore too. And so suddenly he was kind of, it's unusual, you know. He wasn't banned from leaving. And so then his lawyer negotiated the deal, and just magically, poof, he's back. And they go, all right, look, we're going to basically, you got to say guilty to picking up a teenage hooker, register as a sex offender, but then everything that basically, we won't prosecute. You got immunity for everything else in the report, everything done. Not only that, any co-conspirators that may have been mentioned throughout this also are immune from prosecution at a later date. So Ghislaine and all these people who may be prosecuted for, smuggling children and all that kind of stuff, for whatever chunk of time that was, that decade or something of malfeasance, it was all just whoop. And I think it might have been from the time they signed the agreement, so it might have been just even more years. So, that's a hell of a sweetheart deal. And you go, well, that's crazy that he went from life in prison to having 12 hours a day in the county jail. He was allowed to leave during the daytime for work with just a security guy. And then he'd come back, and he would just do his evenings at the county jail, county lockup. And some people say that it looked like he was up to his same old tricks. There weren't really travel restrictions or any other things like that. So there's questions about that. That's why we're curious. We don't think that was made up by the Democrats, And so that was a big thing. Trump's So then he's like, fine, y'all care so much, Bondi, go through it. Anything that you can release it, And so suddenly you're like, that's back on the table. But before he made that, when he was just like, there's nothing here, old Dershowitz was on, I didn't bring my little, there it is. Dershowitz was on, this might be his show, I don't know. But he was asked about this whole thing, and he had some interesting feedback. Because remember, Dershowitz was hired as a lawyer for Epstein back in 2008 when this went down. Beyond that, he was wrapped up in that a girl accused him of stuff. Later recanted, said, I guess it could have been some other old guy, because he was like, I was not there, by God. And so, anyway, let's hear what old Dershy Dersh has to say. He looks great for his age, doesn't he? You can hardly tell he's 43.
I tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them. And that's wrong.
Just out of curiosity, without names, are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are, at least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them. But they may not be victims. They may be perpetrators. So we don't have information about false accusers. And we know there have been many false accusers.
All right. So let's old Dershowitz, he had to say, part of it, he got to see a lot of these files when he was defending himself against charges. So he's seen names, and he knows who's in there, and a little bit of that, and he goes, yeah, this is being covered up. People are being protected. That's what's happening right now. And Dershowitz also represented Trump at some point. And so, he speaks his mind. He's a lifelong Democrat. He's, not going to just spout off for Trump willy-nilly, but also, he got put through the ringer by the Democrats, so he's not going to just willy-nilly defend them. My impression of Dershowitz has always just been he's kind of a cut-and-dry lawyer type. He spouts opinions sometimes outside of legal, and you go, take it or leave it. But, his legal thoughts tend to be pretty solid. He doesn't seem to be hair on fire, any direction. I don't think. Well, yeah. So what do you think about old Dershowitz saying like, "I seen it. People things are being covered up."
I mean, I know he's got the client confidentiality, but can't he be?
I think part of the agreement when they put together probably to allow them to read the files involved confidentiality, you know. And it definitely when they come up with their settlement where they go, "Hey, we're going to dismiss this," so all charges are going to be dropped. However,
But he can't be questioned.
I think he could. I bet you he would need a judge's permission to sign off on being questioned by whatever specific party. The FBI he might be able to just talk to, but I imagine that if he wanted to be asked things by another prosecutor or something, a judge would have to release him of his court order.
It's amazing as you travel up the prestigious tiers that you get to a certain tier and it's like heaven, I guess, to do whatever the hell you want.
What? You mean have an island in the middle of nowhere?
It's just baffling. There's like the rich and powerful, and then there's the rich and powerful.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of cuts to why there's so much interest in Epstein besides the scandalous stuff. It's just hey, how does our system work? Are we a system of laws? Are we a system of laws for most of us, but then all you tools up top? There's another powerful class that actually runs stuff, and maybe even the president isn't always part of that until he is. What is going on? This doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. So it looks like things are moving forward. So Pam Bondi has sent requests to federal judges to unseal grand jury testimony in New York, Florida, and I think someplace else. Well, a little bit of a hiccup on that. Find all my buttons again. So from the Blaze, federal judge says court's hands are tied and rejects Trump administration bid to release Epstein transcripts. So there's two others being considered. U.S. Attorney Pam Bondi, Attorney General, and DOJ made the request from several federal courts to release material from the Epstein case after a public furor. Mein Führer! I probably shouldn't do that. Over disappointing revelations from Trump officials. That's it. So, U.S. District Court Judge Robin Rosenberg of the Southern District of Florida said the court's hands are tied in a ruling to keep the transcripts from grand jury investigations in 2005, 2007 into Epstein. Rosenberg cited rules set by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit and noted that the government conceded. Epstein's confidant, yes, of course, is doing 20 years. Let's see if it tells. Rosenberg's ruling applies to the investigations from West Palm Beach, but other requests have been made for grand jury transcripts from New York for 2019 and one from Maxwell in 2020. Judges in those cases are not bound by the rules set by 11th Circuit. So basically, the judge was saying, here's a quote from Trump. Democrats' new scam is that we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, and my past supporters have bought into this bullshit hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. You ran on it, dog. You can't just pivot like this. You can't just be it's a hoax. It's what's the hoax? If you're saying, now, what I think is the hoax that he's talking about during all this, because when you start popping off, you're like, what are you talking about? And so, of course, there's an article that came out yesterday or whatever, and he goes, the DOJ told researchers to flag any mention of Donald Trump, that they're requested to do that, so that he could filter it out or whatever. And so, there's all these news stories Trump is in the list on the Epstein files. He is mentioned by name in the Epstein files. But of course, we've known this already. There's pictures of them together. He's on camera talking about, Jeff, he loves to be around beautiful women just like me. He does like them a little young, though. There's a picture of them flying together because Trump's plane was broken down, so he hitched a ride with Epstein down to Palm Beach one time. I mean, they're the the multi-million billionaire class. They're all going from New York to Palm Beach to wherever the hell, Palm Springs or whatever. And so they're bouncing all around. But so, yeah, these two knew each other. And, of course, at some point, Epstein got banned from Mar-a-Lago for trying to mac on someone's daughter. And, like, Trump basically banned him from there for life, I guess. I don't know. So, yeah, like, they've got history. Like, it's documented in audio, video, whatever you want. There's history. But they're trying to make a big deal of, like, oh, he was mentioned, like, people in the DOJ or FBI or whatever say his name's in there. And you go, yeah. And then there's something else. I didn't pull it up, but there was like, we found this card that Donald Trump wrote Jeff Epstein on his birthday. And that, it was like a little comic or something about where two characters are being real sly about talking about, doing fun stuff, wink type stuff, But of course the problem was, even when the name wasn't his signature. Like, Donald Trump has a very specific signature that he signs in a giant Sharpie on everything he does. And so you go, like when Trump's like, I didn't make anything. You look at it, you go, I mean, it's not his handwriting. You're like, what do you want? So anyway, I think maybe word got out that maybe this article is about to run about Trump's name being in there. That Democrats are because now that Trump's been like, forget about it. Democrats are trying to start make hay out of it, where it's like, well, you could have released it. You could have released stuff when Biden was in and y'all controlled stuff. And so I think maybe Trump's thing about calling it a hoax is he sees that it's about to come down, like Trump's on the list, and that's the hoax thing. Because like we've talked about, there's going to be lots of names of people for lots of reasons. And there'll be people, and like he threw big parties, like not just creepy parties, but he threw like fundraisers and social events that nice people went to. Now, why they went to a convicted pedophile's place, I don't know the answer to that, other than low character. But yeah, like, so lots of people there. So as we talked about, there'll be some people that are the dirt bags, the guys that like knew what was up and kept coming back. There'll be the people that got honeypotted, where they didn't know what was up, but suddenly hooks are in you. And there'll be people that just happen to, people who want to get money from them or, do business with them, want them to possibly launder money for them. There's lots of reasons that people may have been associated with Epstein. And so, like, I don't know, instead of saying that, he's like, the whole thing's a hoax. And you go, well, it's not, So as far as this goes,
I was telling Kelly, I was like, yeah, everyone's just going to go around saying all these ridiculous reasons why they're there. Like, yeah, I just went there because there's great tanning there on the beach.
That's true. I mean, like, but it's one of those tier things. And, like, as people have been talking about, there's not going to be some record of, like, I had Bill Gates over. He likes the 13-year-old, so I got him Cindy Lou Who to come over. And he did this and he did that. Or we're like, I tricked this person to come over. It's going to just be different logs and stuff. But I do think that there probably some tapes.
Yeah, it all depends, like, what his process was. How much am I keeping them on the hook? Is it just guilty by association, or, did I do a detailed log of when and what you did?
Well, and that's, I think based on Victoria's Secret guy, because, I mean, he just handed over a whole lot to Epstein. I imagine there was some level of blackmail there. And he was just like, look, you're filthy rich. Give me this. We don't talk about it ever again. Unless you make me. And he goes, okay. Because he would use foundation money. Because, what was his name? Wexner? Was it Leslie Wexner or whatever? But he had a foundation, and so he would use the foundation to donate to other things, and so it wasn't even his money; it was this dude's foundation's money. But he could kind of move it around. So if I had to guess, someone like a Bill Gates type, it might be, give me some control here, or give me access to this. Other people, it might just be, don't forget you owe me. Like, if something comes out, like Bill Clinton, it could be as easy as, like, at some point, I might need you to holler at an attorney general for me, or a president, or whatever. So I think there's a mix of leverages. I think there's blackmail. I think there's defense. I think there's, trying to get your hands on some sweet cash. But yeah, that's the thing. It's gonna be all over the place. But okay, so they're going the grand jury stuff. It might not even really have that much in there. So it's one of those things like you were talking about the various distractions. It's like we're doing something, and you go, well, maybe you are, but like in grand jury testimony, typically the prosecutors just give enough evidence where the grand jury goes, there's a case here. You can go ahead and bring charges. There's enough to decide the merits on, So there might be something in there. I bet you it's a nothing burger if I have to guess. Like, I think these other ones will come out and they'll just be, like the Maxwell one will probably just be like, she was a close associate for Epstein for this many years, and he got, caught with kids in this year, and she was part of that, and she's been testified, just stuff we already know. And the New York case, like, I don't know.
Well, it seemed like, just judging from the, from what's gone on with the cases in the documentary that I watched on Netflix.
Oh, I gotta watch that.
And they still have it on there, which I was surprised about. I thought they would just pull it, you know. But it seems like his main strategy was just to mix, like with his money. His money was mixed in with the money he managed for everyone else, so it didn't look like he was laundering his own money, or it just, you could never trace it. And it seems the same way with having parties, hanging out with whatever. If other people are doing it, it's all mixed up. Oh, I wasn't there, or it was there and they were there, or I don't know.
No, I think you're right, and I think part of that too is because obviously sound money managers don't intermingle funds. It's kind of a big no-no. But if you're laundering money and doing these other things like that are already shady, sometimes we got to do it this way. But like, say you go, all right, because who was it? Might have been. Is it Wexner? Is that his last name?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, the Victoria's Secret guy. Anyway, I think he said something like, I gave him this place worth this much money, but he saved me over $1 billion during that time. So like, here's $200 million this way, but I saved $1 billion, So when you got recommendations like that, you go, okay. And then maybe sometimes you take that 100 mil, or I take that back. When he started up his Jeffrey Epstein Incorporated or whatever, he only did services for clients with $1 billion to invest, not net worth, $1 billion for him to manage. So like big B super billionaires, if you got $1 billion, sorry, sucker. You know?
That's because his fee would just, his percentage on that is just, I only charge you 0.01% of $1 billion,
Well, yeah, I'm sure the fee structure was an interesting one. But suddenly you got these billions floating around from multiple people. Like, just say you have 5 clients with $1 billion each out there that you're making it so they don't have to be taxed on it. But you tell them how much you if you go, all right, I'm going to take your $1 billion. You're not going to have to pay taxes on it. And like at the end of it, you'll walk away with, $900 million, right? So you lose $100 million off the top, but it's better than losing $500 million, you go, okay. Well, if it's all in the same account, like maybe it's invested down wherever in whatever. And so you go, well, here's your $900 million. Well, you just keep the money in there, growing interest, keep all that interest, keep all the things. Or whatever. I don't know. I'm sure that's overly simplistic. I'm sure he had better schemes than that. But
the $100 million never gets lost. It just gets lost in his account.
It's just it's all the same account. Here's money. I'll just transfer it over there. So anyway, so as that's going, I think the Senate passed a resolution or something, passed a thing saying that they wanted to. Or I guess maybe the House passed something saying to release all the Epstein stuff. And Massey threw in a deal saying, like, well, let's modify it to make sure it's not everything. Let's not drag all the victims and all these people through it. And And they go, oh, yeah. So I guess maybe it passed the Senate, it's back to the House now or something. Either way, the House needs to vote on releasing everything again. Mike Johnson says he doesn't think they're going to get to it before the August recess because they're going to recess like 8 days early.
That's convenient.
Yeah. You know, they go, we just don't have time. By the way, we're going home now. So it is when you go, okay. So it seems like two branches of government don't want this released, and then you got federal judges blocking stuff from being released. So it seems like all three branches of our government don't want this to be released at all. Huh. And like I said, the Democrats are trying to make hay in these different committees. Like they did something, I don't even know what the committee was, but they threw in a quick thing about like releasing all the Epstein stuff. And so the Republican chair of the committee tried to like push through. And he's like, well, we got a recess. And they're like, well, when do we come back? He's So anyway, they end up having a vote. You go, all in favor, and a bunch of ayes. Like, all opposed, say no. And he goes, no. And then, someone goes, well, the ayes have it. And he goes, I think the no had it, But, which was a joke. It's being published as that he legitimately tried to say the count was wrong, But people chuckle after he said it. I listened to the actual file. But, they count it. And it ends up being, 8-2. There's somebody that turd out of, I think he took John McCain's seat or something, or maybe Andy Biggs, maybe. I think he was the other seat. Anyway, he waited. He didn't vote at all, and then once it was like 8-1 that it passed, he was like, they were like, "Did you not vote?" He goes, "No, I'm also a no." So that way, he lined up with the Republican chair, but it didn't mean anything. But like Nancy Mace and other Republicans voted like release it. I don't know what it means. This is like a committee, so it doesn't even really do anything other than maybe push something out to. I don't know. It's all show. It's all just show. But like, it should tell the GOP, you're losing Epstein's list as an asset, and it's becoming a liability. Like father-in-law was in town. He hadn't voted in a while, but he voted for Trump during the elections, and he's big on the Epstein stuff. And now he's just like, I don't know. Like suddenly he's a little bit more withdrawn from supporting. I don't know I think he's still, in Trump's camp, but I think less so. Like he might not vote in the next presidential election if I had to guess. And so it's just like you're losing your newbies that you got over the silliest stuff. Like just release it. So that was, so he came out and was like, well, I guess maybe we will. Maybe we won't have it out in time. I don't know. And then like, I guess a couple hours ago, Senator Mullen went to the Senate floor demanding that every Epstein file be unsealed now. It calls on all courts to release everything, including grand jury material, with redactions only to protect victims. And this is Benny Johnson. He goes, if the Democrats block this, it makes one thing clear. This was never about justice, always politics. Yeah, it's about politics. And like the Democrats might block it this time. Maybe the Republicans block it this time. There's no shortage of people blocking this, Which, all right, with all that stuff we talked about, what are your thoughts on the Epstein stuff? Like, what do you think? What do you think we're going to actually get out of it? What do you think exists in the world that we'll never see? And maybe what are the motivations behind the government actors in this?
I have two thoughts on it.
Just one.
I don't think we're going to get anything, but if we do, it's going to be heavily redacted. Why would it? And it's not going to end, like you said, everyone's just going to claim victims so that their name gets redacted.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. As much as I want it to cripple everything, I just don't see that happening. And there's too much control to even allow it to happen, as we're seeing.
So what do you think actually exists out there in the wild that we'll never see?
It's a full. Obviously the flight logs, which we've already seen part of, but I think full flight logs, possibly guest lists at parties, are probably exist, and we will never see them.
Do you think Do you think videos of people with underage girls getting down and getting nasty?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know how far that goes, but there's definitely videos of all these people at these parties, and we'll probably see whoever else, young girls hanging out at the party. I don't know how far that'll go. I honestly, I mean,
I don't think we'll see any of that.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
I mean, what do you think the main motivation from the government in general? What do you think the main motivation is? Do you think it's because people are worried about their involvement with kids stuff? Do you think it's about other Like, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think the motivation for stomping this down is?
Well, I mean, it's a combination, the association with underage girls, and then the association with other people, and like a domino effect of, this person, whoever it is, countries, leadership in multiple countries, yeah.
He was tight with, was it 4 or 5 prime ministers from this one country. Which country was it? Oh, it was Israel.
It's like to me, it's like a spider web, like a network that if you push the one domino over, they're all coming down.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. Like, I think we'll see some unsealed grand jury testimony. I think it'll be a big yawn. I think they might release other things. It'll be a big yawn. I do think there is blackmail material out there. I think probably CIA has it. I think that either them or the Mossad got there first. Whether it was commissioned by them or they were just aware of it, I think those two parties probably raced to get in as quick as possible and get everything. So I don't know who got there first. Same with his New York home, but so I think there's a lot of stuff exists, and we'll never see it.
I just don't know how. If I'm in control of it, let's just say, how
Are you in control of it?
how could I? If I'm rich and powerful, I'm going to assume that nobody's going to let it out because it would destroy a bunch of people, including me. Mm-hmm. So how can you use it as leverage anymore? Would they just destroy it because it's no longer leverageable?
I think there's still probably lots of leverage. Like if you had, if you have footage of a married politician or powerful person in bed with a underage girl, that's both, criminal, and that's also could blow up your whole family dynamic. I think there's still plenty of leverage to be had by having the tapes in your hand. Like Epstein's gone, but he's not the only one that can pull the string.
That's true. I mean, I guess, based on the context of whatever clip you have, because if you were to show too much, then you see, oh wait, there's other people in this video.
Well, I remember he had cameras and mics and bathrooms and bedrooms. And I think some of it too was him listening in on guests, making phone calls, trying to have all the info.
So it's like micro context at that point. There's no way you could broaden it. It would just,
also,
it could be at anybody's house,
Oh yeah. And even if it's it doesn't matter. It's just like, that's a child. That's you.
Well, no. What I'm saying is if I were to release that, would it implicate others? But if it's a focused, you
just go, here's a couple minutes of there you go. That's all I need to ruin you. So I think there's still plenty of leverage to be had. And, but I do think too, I think one of the problems is, so let's just say that he's a skilled money launderer, just for the sake of argument. Because it seems like that was his skill set, besides being a creep. And, people use these services all the time, CIA, Mossad, nations, individuals. You have money that you need to supply arms to this country. You can't do it directly, but maybe USAID. But somehow you can funnel. If you didn't have USAID to do it for you, maybe as a nation you take on budget stuff through this foundation, launder it into arms, blah, blah, blah. And so, say you're CIA, Mossad, any intelligence agency, and you have, off-book stuff from having a drug cartel or whatever, and you want it to pop over to something else. It needs to be washed and reused. Like maybe you utilize his service on a case-by-case basis, or maybe long-term, and in return, you go, look, he's got these nasty proclivities, but he's good at what he does, and at this point, he's seen too much. So we'll just let that go, keep this thing going, because we know we have this thing on him where he can't get too bold. He can't get too bold because we can always lock you back up. But yeah, so I think you're right that there's a whole web of crap that goes well beyond just diddling kids. I think that's definitely part of it, but I think he probably helped fund a number of I think he was associated with somebody with Iran-Contra, and so it's just like, all right, so they're smuggling, selling drugs to buy arms, to arm people that it's against the law to arm, it's a lot of different things. So I think it can peel back some of the stuff that's been going on. If anything, if I was the CIA, I'd say let's release some kid material, not kid material, but it's like just pick a couple of sacrificial lambs and then a couple kind of non-stories,
like lightly check the box.
Yeah, just like, look, Bill Gates or whoever, but you just take a couple of people. You go, this guy. It's like these heads are gonna roll. They're gonna have a hard couple of years and find out that actually they were okay. They just happened to be at a party or whatever. But you give this limited thing. And have people focus on the salaciousness, and then never talk about the money laundering side of it.
Yeah, because everyone will check the box on their head, like, "Oh, I'm satisfied. They released something."
Yeah, and there's probably more. Well, we can't release any more because of active investigations and da da da. You go, well, I mean, they did release some of them, so I guess they released some, and the rest they're going to charge people with, I guess. But it'll be focusing on the salacious bit, and it might satiate everyone.
Can I vote who the sacrificial lambs are?
That would be awesome. We're going to release all these people. You go, I'd like to see that one. I'd love Bill Gates to. He's not going to, but Bill Gates is the one where I just go crash and burn. Tim Dillon said he had dinner. He didn't say with whom, but J.D. Vance. And he made
interesting dinner.
Yeah, so he said he went to D.C. for a small dinner. He's like, there's this many and there's this many. And then blah, blah, blah. At the very end, he's like, I was just afraid we were going to have Indian food. So it sounds a lot like he had dinner with... Yeah, he kind of threw that in the last second. But it sounded like he had dinner with J.D. Vance. And so he said what he was told by the individual or individuals that a lot of the video footage that Pam Bondi was talking about going through that was sick, that was on our desk, was personal pornography stuff, not of himself, but just things he downloaded the internet. Some legal, some not legal, but it's one of those things where you go, he's a pedo, he had pedo porn, and then he had some normal porn. And so they go, yeah, there's a lot of video, but there's nothing that the people want. It's porn, it's downloaded stuff that he got places. And that if there are other videos that the federal government, the FBI, whatever they have access to from the executive branch and going down, they ain't got it. Whether it's deleted or someone else got it, they ain't got it, which, of course, you roll your eyes, you go, yeah, right. But when you get into the whole deep state world, you go, I mean, if I was the CIA, if I was, whoever is the number 3 or something at the CIA who stays in between the different changes and actually runs everything, you get that. And you tell that president, I don't know what you're talking about. You just got to wait them out 4 years. There'll be someone else, So it's possible. I mean, I do think if I was affiliated with running these sorts of operations, I wouldn't let just some president come in and get all the stuff and release it. What are you talking about? This is too many years. Too many years of too many directions. You're not getting it.
Yep.
Well, speaking of the deep state, the other big thing, I kind of thought the Epstein thing would be quicker, but it just goes on forever. Big things, maybe a distraction, maybe not. But Tulsi Gabbard came out and she talked about how she's been investigating the Russiagate stuff. And not only, of course, ended up being not true and a waste of time and something that the press and the Democrats leaned on for a long time just to kind of take out Trump, his first term and all that. But she goes, oh, not only was it garbage, it actually goes all the way up to the top. Like, it was purposeful garbage that was executed by the Obama White House. And, yeah. And so first I want to show, this is the one. First, I want to show if you were just a run-of-the-mill, average, everyday person who watches CNN, because no, CNN, that's where you go for news. This is what you got of Tulsi Gabbard's press conference to discuss the fact that the Obama White House may have been complicit in defrauding the American people and conspiring to take out a president of the United States. So this is what you get, CNN. Go ahead.
Multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. On December 5th...
We've been listening there to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, continuing on what has now been a multi-day effort, not only with public statements like this, but release of documents to attempt to back up the quite extreme allegation that President Obama is guilty of treason and that he worked in some sort of conspiracy with Hillary Clinton, etc., in the assessment by the intelligence community at the time that Russia interfered in the 2016 election.
Russia interfered.
Multiple intelligence...
So, if you were watching that on CNN, you got her intro 20, 30 seconds, and then CNN was like, well, what you hear is some nonsense where they're trying to say Obama did some stuff back when Russia was interfering, and it's kind of a crazy thing. Anyway, that was all that. That's on to the sports. And so, I mean, like, think how crazy that is. Like, she's about to give this press conference, and they hop in without a minute being into it and go, well, it's trying to make this case, which you don't know the case she's making because she hasn't said it yet, trying to make this case without real good evidence. Like, I don't know, she hasn't said it yet. And it's kind of crazy. And anyway, that's kind of what's going on here. You go, oh, okay, I guess it's nothing.
The media is just getting so desperate. They're not even trying, like, to talk over the video so that you can't hear what she's saying.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you're a cat falling off a table.
Let's see. Do we want to do video or do we want to kind of run through things? You got a preference on this? Okay.
You do you.
Oh, I do me, boo? All right. I'm going to go the Twitter route. Sometimes all the pausing and stuff makes me too distracted. What do I want? I want this, and I want that. And look at that. Look how pretty that is. All right. So, this is DNI Tulsi Gabbard. So, she's basically talking about, let's see, year-long coup. Okay. For months preceding the 2016 election, the intelligence community shared a consensus view. Russia lacked the intent and the capability to hack U.S. elections. But weeks after President Trump's historic 2016 victory defeating Hillary Clinton, it all changed. On December 8th, the intelligence community officials prepared an assessment for the president's daily brief, finding Russia did not impact. So, after the election, Obama's people gave a report that said Russia did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting cyber attacks on infrastructure. So, when that CNN guy was like, when Russia meddled in the election, yeah, they said they didn't. It didn't happen. Before it could reach the president, it was abruptly pulled, quote, based on new guidance. This key intelligence assessment was never published. Also, like, imagine, like, I know Putin's a bad guy. I got it. Russia's not a totally friendly country for us, especially right now. And even before, it was just kind of one of those like, all right, you can travel. You probably won't be a political prisoner, but like, I don't know if we see eye to eye. How are you going to try and make peace with a country where you're always accusing them of stuff that you know they didn't do.
Right.
You know? You just go, well, they didn't do it, but I'm going to accuse you anyway because it might give me a couple more points in Indiana. You know?
It's like cup checking them. Like, it just makes no sense.
It's just like, I saw him smooching a dog. It's like, no, you didn't. It's like, nah, but it'd be funny if you did, right? All right, next day, top national security officials, including FBI Director James Comey, CIA Director John Brennan, and DNI James Clapper, gathered at the Obama White House to discuss Russia. Obama directed the IC, the intelligence community, to create a new intelligence assessment that detailed Russian election meddling, even though it would contradict multiple intelligence assessments released over the previous several months. So Obama said, hey, man, try that again. This time, better conclusion. Obama officials immediately leaned on their allies in the media to advance their falsehoods. Anonymous IC sources leaked classified information to the Washington Post and others that Russia had intervened to hack the election in Trump's favor. Let's see. January 6th, different one. I kind of feel like it'd be cool to do a January 6th like every year. You know, just like storm the Capitol. Like all the government buildings. Yeah, just an annual one. Like maybe turn it into a fun thing, you know. You grab a congressman, give a couple nuggies or something. You're all right.
Have a slip and slide out front.
Slip and slide out. Everybody wears the buffalo hats, you know. But, you know, got to keep them on their toes. But, all right, just days before Trump took office, DNI Clapper unveiled the Obama-directed politicized assessment, a gross weaponization of intelligence that laid the groundwork for a years-long coup intended to subvert Trump's presidency. According to whistleblower emails shared with us today, we know Clapper and Brennan used the baseless, discredited Steele dossier as a source to push this false narrative in the intelligence assessment. These documents detail treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest levels of the Obama White House. Subvert the will of people. Okay. And she's providing all the documents. I think in her press conference, she kind of goes into maybe a bit more. I just didn't mark where it was during the 10-minute talk. But, you know, so what you got here is...
Well, CNN summed it up, so I'm good.
That's a good point, yeah. They covered everything you need to know. So they go, hey, Trump. Like, Russia didn't help Trump. And it's like, well, maybe he did. They go, all right, he did. And so they come out, you know, and the whole time they go, we didn't even use the Steele dossier. We didn't, like, not for that. Like, of course the Steele dossier had been mentioned, but that was not the basis of our investigation. Ends up, it was the entire basis of it. And, like, it was, I think, Clapper, where someone came up to him and go, like, but we can't use the Steele dossier because it's not true. And he goes, but it rings true, doesn't it? And so it's like they knowingly put together a false intelligence report, leak things out to the media to manipulate them because it's what the media wanted to hear anyway, and push forward this whole load of hogwash. Sorry for the language. Just to subvert Trump. They wanted to take him out, maybe get him impeached before he got too far into it. Maybe, like, I don't know what, but definitely neuter his presidency so he couldn't do anything. And for the most part, it worked. I mean, it really took him down quite a few pegs. He was fighting these fights the entire first term, you know? So not only, let me see. Okay. So some other stuff that came out here. I guess I'll go back to it. That's fine. This is from... somewhere. Washington Examiner. So intelligence officials under Obama discovered Russia possessed damaging material about Hillary Clinton's mental and physical health during the 2016 campaign, but chose not to release it as they worked to find support for a narrative that Russia intervened to help Trump. Let's see. 2016, that contained detailed allegations about Clinton's physical and psychological health, including claims she was on daily regimens of heavy tranquilizers and suffered from a mix of, quote, intensified psycho-emotional problems. Our pretty Hillary? Psycho-emotional problems?
She's been dealing with that her whole life.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Obama and senior Democrat Party officials found claims to be extraordinarily alarming and believed it could affect her election prospects. Though the Russian foreign intelligence alleged findings were never made public. The communications also referred to multiple chronic illnesses such as type 2 diabetes. I don't know if that's ischemic, whatever. Heart disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and deep vein thrombosis. Gross. That Clinton, who turned 69 years old that year, was suffering. Russian intelligence reportedly described her as, quote, obsessed with a thirst for power. I think I got that one pretty good.
Nailed it.
And emotionally erratic. Let's see. They had a good sentence on this. Let's see. Yeah, maybe it'll be somewhere else.
Uncontrolled fits of anger.
Oh, yeah. Where do you see that?
It's in the highlighted part.
Yeah. Uncontrollable fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness. Just so happy.
Just snaps out of it.
Yeah, just anger, aggression, and then just, damn, I'm happy. Let's see.
That's when the tranks clicked in.
Yeah, that's what it was. That wasn't sudden. That was the tranks. So it was never disclosed by the Obama-era intelligence officials when briefing the public or crafting the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, which asserted with high confidence that Russian President Putin interfered with the election to help Trump. Let's see. It's difficult to justify the Obama intelligence community's judgment that Putin aspired to help Trump win by discrediting Secretary Clinton, given that in the closing weeks of the campaign, when such devastating leaks could have been decisive, President Putin elected not to inject this material into the campaign. And at the same time, the U.S. officials were aware that Russia intercepted a DNC email describing the campaign plan approved by Clinton to link Trump to Russian hackers as a way to distract the public from fallout of the Clinton email server scandal. That detail was also admitted from the assessment's finding. Let's see. So, basically, the Obama White House, the intelligence people, knew that Russian hackers had hacked the DNC emails, and we heard about that. In those emails, they knew that Hillary Clinton had discussed her plan to say that the Russians were supporting Trump. So they saw that it was already one of her schemes that she was doing just cause, and that the motivation was that as Secretary of State, she set up an illegal server in her basement so she could get out of FOIA requests, so she could do both her government job and her Clinton Foundation job without anyone ever seeing what she was doing. And just to refresh everyone's memory about that, like, she ran her own separate email server, which was not very secure, that was definitely hacked by Russians and Chinese. But if you go through a .gov email address, all your stuff's public, and you can FOIA anytime, But Clinton Foundation or whatever going through this server, it never touches anything else. So unless you email a .gov, it's not going to be FOIA-able. It could be. And so she did that as Secretary of State, knowing that was improper. And the Clinton Foundation, to remind people, it was always interesting that Bill Clinton would get a check for $20 million to give a speech on, Ethiopia. Next thing you know, the State Department has some grant for Ethiopia. So it was this pay-for-play thing. It appeared to be some pay-for-play thing where if you pay the Clinton Foundation enough money, suddenly the State Department will respond in favorable ways to your nation state. As soon as Clinton lost the election to Trump, they shuttered the foundation, basically. Money stopped rolling in. They just shut it down. Because, I guess, what's the point? Because there's Haiti, helping all those good people in Haiti.
With their mud cookies.
What's the mud cookies?
They literally make and sell and eat mud cookies.
In Haiti? Mm-hmm. Oh. Are they good?
It's mud.
Okay.
Yeah. So however good mud is.
I don't know.
Never had a mud cookie.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to judge. Yo, mama's a mud cookie. So everybody was aware that she was about to float some BS. Everyone was aware that there's actually intelligence that was damn. Because remember with Hillary Clinton like collapsing and stuff? It was one of those big things they tried to cover up. Like, oh, she was tired. It's like she ceased being alive, and y'all weekend at Bernie's her in like
Biden, the SUV.
Yeah, Biden looked stronger.
Right.
You know? So this is back-to-back candidates for the Democrats where it's like not fully alive all the time. So anyway, the Obama administration and the intelligence agency, nonpartisan intelligence, they purposely ignored information and purposely cherry-picked information they knew was wrong in order to put together a report that fit with the narrative that Russia was trying to help Trump, because Trump was like, this whole thing's rigged. This whole thing's rigged. They're trying to rig the election right now. So he's talking about how rigged it was, and they're like, well, actually, it's being rigged for you, and it's by Putin. And so they just thought like this is a winning thing. And I mean, it to a degree, it was a winning thing. You know, like it stuck. It still sticks today. Over half of registered Democrat voters think that Trump's a Putin puppet. Like the discredited Russia hoax that was discredited before this, still, I think it was like 65% of Democrat voters were like, yeah, no, he's just a puppet of Russia. And you go, I mean,
Putin's like, again? Come on.
He's just like, I do not have them as puppets. It's like, I have nice puppets. Look, dance puppets. Look at my puppets dance. It brings me joy. There's another thing. Oh, so this is PBS, which has now been defunded. Woohoo! Yeah, that rescission package got passed, so $9 billion, which is better than nothing. Not as good as $1 trillion or $2 trillion. But in it, PBS and NPR lost their funding. It's good. Stand on your own feet like the rest of us have to. So officials said they were concerned that attempts by a Democratic administration to alert the public to Russia's meddling would be misconstrued as interference in support of Hillary Clinton's campaign. At that same time, they were worried about taking actions that could provoke Russian retaliation prior to the election. So this is Brennan. He said, we were very mindful of the responsibilities to do everything possible to prevent the Russians from being successful in what they were trying to do, but at the same time, not to do anything that is even going to call further into question the integrity of the elections. Because I could view some scenarios where there would be this escalating concern that people would start to really wonder whether or not their vote was going to count. And so they said basically that they didn't want to like talk about the Russia thing at first because they were too worried that people would go, oh, supporting Hillary. Like that's the concern. And so they kept everything quiet because they're like, well, we don't want them to think that Russia supports Hillary.
Or that our elections are always rigged, but everyone's like, we know the elections are always rigged.
I mean, to a degree, there's definitely some malfeasance during any election. And I don't know. The candidate system is rigged, so it's like you don't even have to. Anyway, but there was something in one of these. Well, basically, Russia. Well, one of the reasons Russia was gathering some of this information is they thought Clinton presidency was an inevitability. So they're trying to find information to help them with that issue. You know, like, when we got to go against Hillary, at least we'll have some dirt, we'll have some tools, and all that kind of stuff. So right now, Tulsi's like passed this information to the DOJ for a criminal investigation, and then we wait to see what will happen with that. I'm guessing there will be a congressional hearing or 3 or something. Maybe there'll be criminal charges against somebody, maybe Brennan, maybe somebody. I doubt they bring charges against Obama. If they do, it ain't gonna matter. Maybe there's a congressional hearing where Obama's got to sit there and answer questions from Congress, where the embarrassment is basically the punishment. Like, stand there and we're gonna grill you about lying under oath in this scandal, and basically tarnish your star a little bit.
He's always bringing the swag, though. It ain't gonna do anything.
I tend to agree. I mean, they might be able to catch him because, like, he's the smoothest when he's got it written. You know, when he's off the cuff, he can be a bumbling, stuttering mess. I've noticed he's already begun the tour of laundering his legacy, starting with his wife and brother-in-law's podcast.
Oh, yes.
See that clip about the ketchup? Mm-hmm. It's just like, I've got a controversial stance. I think after a certain age, no ketchup. 9 years old, after that, no more ketchup. And it's like, I just think. And so he's just going through, till then, maybe even a hot dog. Ugh. But he's trying to be just charming with a quirky little, kind of quirky sourpuss. Like, maybe he is getting older. Look at him having this little quirky things that he doesn't put up with. No ketchup after 9. That's kind of adorable. I do like some ketchup with my French fries, though. I do agree with the ketchup on hot dogs. I'm not a ketchup on hot dogs guy.
I think he's very good with his CIA his tactics.
I mean, he's a smooth operator. He's got a good team. But I do think, like, if they were to get, like, some sort of congressional hearing, I think they could knock him down a few pegs. I think in return, a couple of them will get majorly knocked out by Obama. I think he'll be able to pick off a few with some pre-written lines and stuff he's got memorized. Kind of like Hillary Clinton with Benghazi. Whether they decided to conquer it because they hated America or they're just going for a stroll and decided to do some violence, what does it matter now? And go, oh, okay. Like, you just came up with that off the top of your head, yeah? And it's like, and the reason it matters is because what was going on in Benghazi, And so that's, the thing is, and, right now there's a lot of cover on the Democrats and a lot of cover in the press, but I repeat myself, that this is just nonsense. This is just Trump attacking Obama, just like he did about the birth certificate and all that. But Obama, his administration, Obama, Clinton, Biden, they were all about weaponizing government. Let me see. Got a little cheat sheet list here. Well, we already talked about how Hillary Clinton had an off-book server that everybody knew about just to get out of having to have Freedom of Information Act. She was able to do God knows what without any checks on what she did. Like, tell me a good reason for that other than hiding stuff.
Right. There's no other reason.
Oh, and do you remember what happened when they go, hey, we need that server, turn that server over? Do you remember what happened?
Didn't she have an issue with it or something?
Yeah, the issue was she ran this program called BleachBit that wiped all the hard drives. Then they drilled holes in all of them and accidentally smashed all the cell phones to pieces. They wiped everything, both on a digital level, and they also just smashed everything to pieces. And so they go, here you go, and you go, well, that's not suspicious.
My drill fell in all the hard drives while running.
There you go. Well, there might be a good reason to have the server. I mean, consolidating one email account, that could be convenient. I host all my stuff out of Gmail. Yeah, okay. What's the point of bleach bitting everything? Like wiping everything to the nth degree where you can't find anything. I mean, if we did that,
I've never drilled a hole in a hard drive.
Me neither. But could you imagine if you're in even, say, just a civil lawsuit, not even criminal, civil lawsuit, someone says that Charlie did whatever. And they go, all right, well, we need to investigate your hard drive, see if you embezzled money from the Charlie Clinton Foundation. And so you gave it to him, and it was just like wiped to the bone, hole through it, just a pile of crap. You just hand him a box of shards. You go, well, there it is. You'd be held in contempt and locked up. I don't know for how long, but you definitely go to jail for a little bit. And then, it could get worse. Because they go, well, you need other copies. No, well, you got 6 months in jail for contempt. Like, you destroyed evidence. Like, there's charges. There's charges, and any of us would face those charges. Hillary, she got to run for president.
Yeah, not only does wiping it get her out of those charges, but she didn't get the charges for wiping it.
Yeah.
It's just
untouchable. Untouchable.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. And that, so, So that was a minor abuse of power, and that was I guess the weaponization came after the fact, and that it cost her the election. But Comey came out, said no criminal charges. We did find these emails, and that dummy, he sank her campaign. Of course, is it Comey's daughter? That's still like a prosecutor or something like that, still heavily involved, I think, in the Epstein stuff. But yeah, it's one of those things, like her only punishment was that it helped her lose to Trump, And then she's just been chilling, speeches, books, whatever. Not
Tranks,
probably. Operation Fast and Furious. Remember that one? So that was, we lost track of thousands of fully automatic guns because we gave them to the cartel. Because gun control. We go, wait. The FBI gave a bunch of machine guns to the drug cartel? We go, it's fine. Of course, there was a 2010 fatal shooting of Border Patrol agent Brian Terry. That was linked back to one of the guns. So our government gave the machine guns to the cartel who killed an American that worked for the for the Border Patrol.
Yeah, and they were using it in hopes of tracing it to the cartels.
Their whole thing is they wanted it to be so that they could show that when you bought, it was probably not all automatic, it was probably like ARs too, but they wanted to show that that American guns, just being bought willy-nilly, at gun shows and everything else, ends up in the hands of the worst criminals. And so they basically just they basically gave them to them so that they could track them later, lost track of them until they started using them to shoot people, and they're like, that's one of ours. And then they go, this story's not that good anymore. It's like, well, that's kind of corrupt. This is a stupid idea. You armed an enemy of this nation. You armed a criminal gang.
For a narrative.
Yeah, for just nonsense, When Obama was up for re-election, he weaponized the IRS. He all of a sudden, the Tea Party thing was big. People were setting up PACs, nonprofits, that were all about, patriots, liberty, Tea Party, blah, 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 blah. And so there was going to be a lot of PACs setting up to run commercials and do campaign stuff and support Romney against Obama. And the IRS was just like, we've got to look into this matter. It'll take 6 to 9 months. They go, well, yeah, but the election's in 4 months, and we applied 5 months ago. They go, yeah, we're working on it. We're working. So they just suppressed the creation of political organizations that were in opposition of the president in power. It's another just, these are the rules as they are. And then somebody going, what if they took a little bit longer?
It's quite the strategy.
I mean, it worked, What else we got? Oh, yeah. Let's see. Oh, that's right. So when the Benghazi thing happened, do you remember that they tried to sell it that it was a movie?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was in Libya, in the diplomatic compound in Libya. The State Department falsely claimed, State Department being Hillary Clinton, falsely claimed the attack was not a terrorist attack, but a reaction to an anti-Muslim film. Emails from the secretary later showed that she knew the attack was terrorism. Justice Department prosecutors even convinced a magistrate judge to jail the filmmaker. This dude, it was on YouTube and it had 3 views. It was this crappy thing. It's just the guy this, and not YouTube today YouTube where people put stuff out and they monetize it and it's great. Oh, look at the new special. Look at my show. I only put Gillian Keeves. I put it on. Now this is yesterday's YouTube where they go, nobody wants it. It's the only place I can put it. And no one had seen it. And they just go, well, it definitely wasn't about anything that we're doing in Libya, interfering with the leadership of the country or anything like that. It's probably because of some movie on YouTube that no one has ever seen where they make fun of Muslims.
It's like they dipped their toe in the water and were like, well, we got to go all the way in now. Just jail the guy. Let's sell it,
Well, that was the worst part about it is they they did that. It's like, it's one thing to make that call, like, I think it was his fault, but they go, listen, you caused real damages. And so they went after like an innocent guy and jailed him for like, maybe being racist or something, but like, he did not cause Benghazi. There's another one. Do you remember the VA? So VA, they had a problem that people were waiting too long for treatment, right? And so once again, FOIA or just normal reports, what's the average waiting time for the VA between, like, I need a surgery and I get my surgery, right? And so they go, oh, everybody gets treated within, I forget what it was, 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever the thing was. And everyone's like, all right, like, people are complaining, but I guess if those are the metrics, those are the metrics. Well, it ends up, somebody instructed the VA to keep a shadow list too. So once you're like number 50 on the list, and you're like 6 months out, right? So number 51, that's list B. That's not official list. That's list B.
2 Qs. I love it.
So you can be on BQ for maybe another year or something, but you don't even get on the official list until you're within the time frame of acceptable return, And so once again, that's one of those things like, here's the process of how it should work. I don't like that process. Let's try something different. Let's see if there's anything else. In, I guess, Afghanistan or whatever. But the reason, my opinion, the reason Lloyd Austin became the Secretary of Defense under Biden, and I've mentioned this, is because of his work he did for the Obama administration. When the war, during the 8 years of Obama was, essentially half the time we were there, and we were floundering. There was no mission. We were just kind of doing whatever, not really moving things forward, not really withdrawing, other than like guarding poppy fields, slanging that sweet hair on, and like turning a blind eye to like the child, assaulting, since I'm not saying that word so much. Other than that, like, we weren't really doing anything, but people were dying. And so the right wing was getting angrier about that, And so Lloyd Austin, who was in charge of giving all the numbers, killed in action, all that kind of stuff, to the White House, he gave some numbers.
Oh, that's right.
Numbers weren't so bad. Come back to find out, he falsified the records, falsified the casualties. And so you falsified how many soldiers were injured or died in active duty in order to do a political narrative? Yeah. And all it got him was Secretary of Defense, where he disappeared for 6 months without telling the president that he needed some surgery, because it was one of those coronation things. It's like, I deserve this. It's not about working. This is my coronation. This is what I've gotten to. I was former Secretary of Defense, one of the few black Secretary of Defenses in the history of this country. All that kind of crap. But it's the Obama and Biden and Clinton, because that's the thing. Clinton lost to Obama in the primary. It was supposed to be Clinton's year, and so, but instead of just like putting her out to pasture like they should have, they go, all right, well, she's got next Secretary of State, very high rank. It's where Rubio's at right now. And they go, that's perfect. You deal with international issues. You deal with all this stuff. And so she was right in the mix. She was out there all the time. But, Obama, Clinton, Biden, like, as far as weaponizing the government for their own use, they were all about it all the time. So, like, trying to come out, of course, there was at least high-level involvement with the Russian hoax stuff. As far as, this thing getting published, right? But, is this something important? Never mind. Okay, I thought I was missing something. So, not only does, it makes sense for it to be coming from someone high-ranking, but it was always thought in the past that you didn't have to really conspire. You hire people with the same mindset. So you don't have to tell them to do something. It's like, you think, should I do that? It's like, yeah, whatever you think you should do, you should do. And like, I don't have to tell you. So the only like surprising thing is now it looks like because it was the head of the DNI, head of the CIA, head of the FBI in these meetings, with Obama, that maybe there was direct involvement because these weren't just staffers. It was like, hey, listen, we can't let this clown in. God knows what he's going to do. He's probably going to undo. He's been running on undoing everything we've done. It's like, now he's won. We can't let him undo everything, And I think probably USAID was one of those things I didn't want him to find out about. So, hooray for Musk. But anyway, so that's going on now. I think Obama easily will have total cover. He's like, look, I don't create the intelligence reports. I get brought them, and then I react to them, So I asked for a report. I asked them to double check a report. They came back. They said, actually, this is what we found. I said, okay. That's all you got to say.
He's just maintaining plausible deniability.
Maintain plausible deniability.
It's like drilling holes in the hard drives. I didn't do it. They did it.
Yeah, right. So they misunderstood what they were supposed to do, But it's one of those things like Obama's not going to do any time. I wonder if he'll even have an investigation. Brennan and Clapper and Comey, I don't know. They'll probably have a congressional investigation. I don't know if there'll be any DOJ thing or not. There might be more info that comes out. Her press conference did release a couple little more things, like we were talking about, because it kind of felt like a rope-a-dope, which we'll see if it actually happens, because Obama, of course, responded, said, this is all hogwash, like none of this stuff is real, this is just partisan attacks, yada, yada, yada. And so, if she's got something heavy to bring out, the time will be soon, because DOJ will do whatever DOJ does, but it doesn't really matter, because like we talked about, these people are above the law. And they are. I'm sorry. They are. Clinton's not doing any time. Obama's not doing any time. Probably Brendan Clapper, Comey, not unless somebody just has to be the sacrificial goat, but none of them will. None of them will. It would just be impossible. I hope to come back and eat my hat. I would like that, but I can, my Frankradamus prediction is, it's at most congressional hearings and, maybe some public embarrassment. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I mean, if there was a line, I'm going with nothing's going to happen. Nothing significant is going to happen.
Yeah, because this is the closest thing to a smoking gun you're probably going to get, unless Tulsi's got something she's still sitting on. But, I don't know. I ain't going to. I mean, Richard Nixon stepped down. He was charged with serious crimes, and, what's-his-face just pardoned him immediately. He's like, it's time to heal, So, yeah, I don't see anything happening. It's all nonsense, whether it's Epstein or Obama or Clinton or probably Trump too. No matter what it is, these people, I guess the only difference with Trump is they did go after him hardcore. They did, get him arrested, even though it was kind of a picture and gone. But he did get charged with crimes. He did get arrested. He got his mug shot and probably helped him win the election. But yeah, it's just, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want when you reach that level of power. So go and fly the Lolita Express, take some high school gals out on a nice island vacation. Do whatever you want. Worst case scenario, pretend to hang yourself in a cell and live in this giant house in Ohio. Just kidding about. Maybe I'm kidding. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't think you're kidding.
Yeah. I don't know. He could be dead. He could be in Columbus partying with that same dude who seems to surround himself with pedos. And Columbus. I should go to Columbus. Peep. I think I see him now.
See if you can find the guy on the $20 bill.
That's right. All right. Well, I think that'll do us for this week. What you got, Chuckles?
That's it.
All right. Well, just remember to like and subscribe and set reminders. Do it for all the things, the Spotifys, the YouTubes, the Rumbles. We will be featured soon on the Kiss Cam at Coldplay, so look for us there. And I guess until then, I don't even know if it cut you for that one, but that's okay. Anyway, until then, bye-bye, everybody.